Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about troubling, irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Hello and welcome. What you saw at the beginning there was a clip from Sinclair Media, and they're a large broadcasting corporation that owns a lot of smaller broadcasters around the country. And usually when people think about local news, they think about independent local organizations that are just there to tell you what's going on around you and also what's going on in the bigger world. But that's just not the case anymore. The information and the distribution of information has become more centralized over the years, and it's easier to get a false message out in a wider range now. And a lot of people trust the legacy media and trust the mainstream media for all their news because that's been the only source of news for years. But unfortunately, all we're seeing these days is a lot of propaganda. And it takes a little more than just watching the news to understand what's going on in the world today. So that's what I'm going to do for you. What I want to do here is show you a couple of very relevant examples. And the first one is one that's been big for years. And this is that Donald Trump did not condemn white supremacists or white nationals and neo-Nazis. This is actually the reason Joe Biden ran for president in the first place. And here, watch this. He'll say it himself.
The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president has ever said anything like that.
So now that you've seen why Joe Biden ran for president, let's see if he was running on a lie or if it was real. Here's Donald Trump in Charlottesville that fateful day.
We had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. So George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
Now you can see that the media easily takes some words and puts them out of context and can build a whole narrative that doesn't really exist out of them. And that's what they've done with Rudy Giuliani, and that's the other example I want to talk about today. This is because Rudy Giuliani is relevant to the Donald Trump January 6th indictment. Rudy Giuliani, you'll see in the headlines recently, said that he said false statements about Ruby Freeman and that other woman down there in Georgia. And I don't know if you remember them, but they were the ones who, in Minecraft, pulled out different ballots in the middle of the night, supposedly, and did some other shady things. Well, so if you believe the headlines, Rudy Giuliani conceded that he made false statements. But that's not what he said. And I'm going to show you what he said right here. Now, right here we have Rudy Giuliani's final settlement. And this means that all argument is over. And this has all been accepted by both sides. Defendant Giuliani concedes, and we see that word concede because this is important, solely for the purposes of litigation. For the purposes of litigation before this court and on appeal, that defendant Giuliani made the statements of the concerning plaintiffs, which means he said the things that they say he said, which include all of the statements detailed in plaintiff's amended complaint, ECF number 22. And he does not dispute, for purposes of this litigation, that the statements carry meaning that is defamatory per se. So he's saying that he concedes that, yes, these statements could be damaging to someone, and he's not arguing that they were not damaged, or he's not arguing against the fact that they were damaged. That defendant Giuliani, for the purposes of this litigation only, published those statements to third parties. Number 3, that defendant Giuliani, for the purposes of this litigation only, does not contest, for the purposes of this litigation only, to the extent the statements were statements of fact and otherwise actionable, which means he's not going to argue whether or not they were factual or false. This stipulation does not affect Giuliani's ability to seek set-off, offset, or settlement credit, or his argument that his statements are constitutionally protected statements or opinions or any applicable statute of limitations, or that Giuliani's statements in fact cause plaintiffs any damages, and the amount of any alleged damages which Giuliani's statements may have caused, or any other legal defense not expressly waived by this stipulation, which means there's no more legal complaints they can bring against him on particular things that he said. So he retains the right to say these things and not be punished any further for it. Now let's go to number 4. That defendant Giuliani does not contest, so he does not contest, and then solely for the purposes of this litigation, including on any appeal in this litigation, the factual elements of liability subject to any retained affirmative defenses not expressly waived herein. Regarding plaintiff's claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress and other related tort claims, this stipulation does not affect Giuliani's ability to seek set-off, offset, or settlement credit, or his argument that his statements are constitutionally protected statements or opinions or any applicable statute of limitations, or that Giuliani's conduct in fact caused plaintiffs any damages, and the amount of any damages Giuliani's conduct may have caused, or any other legal defense not expressly waived by this stipulation, which again means they can't come after him any further for these statements that he made. But we see here that he does not contest. Right here, he does not contest. But up here at the top, we see he concedes. So there is a difference between what he conceded and what he decided not to argue against, because it's taken up his money. He's got lawsuits coming at him from all different directions, and it's better sometimes to just cut your losses and run. So this is relevant because they're trying to make this January 6th case all around Rudy Giuliani, which is one of the co-conspirators, and Donald Trump, all making these accusations knowingly false, or knowing that they were false the whole time. And that's just not the case. In fact, they've never been proven false per se, but they've also never been proven all the way to be true. So you can see that they don't have such a great case, that they can't get Rudy Giuliani to concede that they were false. And Rudy Giuliani still retains the right to make those statements and not to have any further damages sought after for that. So as you can see, we are looking at a lot of propaganda from our media today. And in order to see the truth, it takes a little more digging. And that's what I'm here for. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. It'll help spread it out, and share it with other people that you know and that believe these lies. That way we can try to wake everybody up and get the truth out to everyone. So until next time, peace be with you.